Déjà relaté au cinéma dans différents films signés par Irving Kershner ou encore l'inénarrable Menahem Golan, la fameuse opération Thunderbolt est au cœur d'Otages à Entebbe. Menée par le gouvernement israélien en juillet 1976, cette opération de sauvetage constitue encore aujourd'hui un véritable coup d'éclat militaire d'envergure mondiale qui aura permis de sauver la vie de plusieurs otages retenus en Ouganda. Plus mesuré sur l'issue de cette opération, le cinéaste brésilien José Padilha, totalement revenu de sa malheureuse expérience sur le remake de Robocop, décortique l'événement sous plusieurs angles. Optant pour une approche très documentée, qui tranche avec les précédentes reconstitutions, celui-ci s'intéresse d'abord au projet pour des raisons humaines et politiques, mises de côté dans les versions antérieures.
First thing that I noticed is that that screenplay was looking at the events through a different angle. It was not telling a military story. It was not following the preparations that took place in those 7 days inside the military in Israel. It was rather telling the story of the relationship between the hijackers and the hostages. It had a bigger focus on the German hijackers, and it was also, on the other hand, telling the story of the relationship between Shimon Peres and Isaac Rabin and how they negotiated the options that they had on how to deal with this crisis. So that point of view that was proposed to me hadn't been explored before, at least in the movies that I've seen and documentaries. I thought it was interesting.
If you all stay in your seats and do not move, no one will be harmed. But if anybody tries anything, I will throw this grenade.
Everyone stay in your seat, don't move. I have a back.
Comme toute reconstitution méritante, Otages à Entebbe profite du recul historique pour évoquer les problématiques du présent. Ici, il s'agit évidemment de la situation conflictuelle entre Israël et la Palestine.
We wanted to tell the story of the relationship between Rabin and Peres. Why? Because you see, Rabin came into office in a very tight election against Shimon Peres. He won, and his platform was to reduce the Israeli military budget. Shimon Peres wanted to increase the Israeli military budget. When Entebbe happened, immediately Shimon Peres says, let's not negotiate by definition. It's better if 103 hostages die, which put Rabin in a very difficult political situation because he didn't believe that there was a safe operation. So he was really considering the possibility of negotiating, despite the fact that is a very big toll for an Israeli politician to negotiate. When you look at Entebbe, that extreme situation, you realize that there is a gigantic constraint on the ability of Israeli politicians to negotiate with Palestinians. And also, there is a constraint on the Palestinian side, too. Let me put it like this. To be a brave Israeli soldier is to do what those men did when they stepped into that plane. To be a brave Israeli politician is to do what Rabin did. Israel and Palestine are trapped in a cycle of fear. The conflict has lasted too long, and now too many politicians in Israel and in Palestine has raised to power by saying, I am going to defend you from your enemy. It's easy to play that card, but once you do that, you frame the other as the enemy. And then how do you negotiate?
You must know how this looks to the rest of the world.
I know how this looks, but it's not the reality.
Aussi politisé soit-il, Otages à Entebbe s'autorise toutefois de véritables idées de mise en scène osées et pertinentes, comme cette chorégraphie de danse moderne qui irrigue tout le film et lui confère une logique symbolique propice à faire exploser la tension inhérente au sujet.
The dance I knew, and the dance was, to me, what it meant was I see a group of dancers stepping in to a stage dressed in Orthodox clothes. To me, that in the movie, the way I cut it, means or signifies Jewish inflow of people to Palestine right before and right after the Second World War, which is connected to the conflict. That inflow of Jewish people then starts the dance, and you see that the dance movements that they do, they allude to self-inflicted pain. The movements, they do this, they hit themselves in the back and so on. And as the movie progresses, they start to take off, rip off their Orthodox clothes. And the one dancer who doesn't do that keeps falling from the chair and crawling back, falling from the chair and crawling back. And to me, that's a clear metaphor that represents the point the movie wants to make. Unless you strip yourself of the orthodoxy, there's gonna be no negotiation. It's impossible. So I wanted to say that in a cinematic way.
Et de toute évidence, Otages à Entebbe reste un pur film de cinéma, une œuvre adulte et intelligente sur un sujet délicat qui démontre que le réalisateur de Troupes d'élite est de nouveau en pleine possession de ses moyens artistiques.
As soon as they know we're coming, they start to kill the men, the women, the children.
So, they are selecting Jews and you want to negotiate.